Hello, hello. How's it going? Welcome to the 40th season of ETF2L. Our coverage of the second week continues today for our matchup between Toilet Cleaner Masters, aka the Polish national team, and NeedMoreSwag. Sorry, there's no S in there. You can't possibly mess that up. Anyway, my name's Surny. I'm joined by Beater on the camera and Dave on the radio. How's it going?
Doing well, looking forward to this game. Based on what we've seen of these two teams so far, and in previous seasons, of course, as well, TCM, may have seen him previously as Kritzberg for defense, but it's the same kind of group of players. But based on what we've seen, we could be in for a very, very exciting game. Both of these teams play kind of real kind of balls to the wall, aggressive play styles, a lot of DM potential on both of these sides. And also, I think with NeedMoreSwag being a little bit of a newer team, we certainly saw last week they weren't quite as refined as some of the other top teams such as Aura and Witness Gaming, but certainly a team with a lot of potential, a lot of skill.
I mean, yeah, we can run down the rosters real quick, so people that aren't quite aware, obviously the Polish roster almost unchanged from the one you saw just a few seasons ago. They took a season off or two, I don't remember how many, from Prem, but they are back in full swing. We have Graba on the mid, Stan on the Demoman, I believe. Yes, that is indeed. Then Wanju and Bonkers on the Soldiers, and BB and Paparazzi on the Scout classes. Those are indeed your Polish players from the team TCM. Who are your standout players here for you, Dave? Who do you think we need to watch out for immediately?
I think traditionally with this team, we've always said Bonkers is the one who makes a lot of stuff happen for them. I think one of the seasons he missed out, this team wasn't as impressive, wasn't as scary. Whenever he plays, he just always seems to make stuff happen, and him having that X factor is certainly something that helps the team because they don't really want to play a style of sitting back waiting for opponents to make a mistake. They want to just go for it, play aggressive, make chaos happen, and they thrive in the chaos. But I think the big change obviously is BB coming in, someone who Highlander watchers will know has been kind of dominating the Highlander scene the last few seasons. I think it is his debut season in Six's Prem, but he is someone
I want to
who,
say so, yeah.
yeah, I think he is someone who's going to perform really, really well. And we already saw last week on Gully Wash, he tore the place up.
So he's someone to look out for. Let's quickly look at NeedMoreSwag as well. Lots of familiar faces here. Vanny on the medic, Daga on Demoman, Nubby and Jevon on the soldiers, and then Ixie and Caper rounding out on the scout classes. Also, lots of familiar names there. We've seen these players in different teams and different compositions over several seasons now. I think all of these have at least like 2 or 3 seasons of Prem underneath their belt, like each one of them, I believe. So they're quite experienced. Obviously not in this exact composition, but we'll see how well they can play together. Who do you think stands out here? Obviously Nubby with the meme spoon, but that one's banned, so we can get that out of the way immediately.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has to fear Nubby anymore. As soon as a meme spoon's gone, half of his power is eroded. But no, obviously Nubby stands out as someone who's played right at the very top, and has been a very, very influential factor in the previous sides he's played in. The other one is obviously Ixie has a ton of experience. Vanny as well, a ton of experience, and Ixie it seems to have been unfortunate the last few seasons that he hasn't quite found himself on a team that's a real title challenger. And looking at the experience on this team, perhaps not, but they've been very good in preseason.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I mean, they had a rough first week against Witness, right? So that's a tough team to go up against, but certainly they are looking to take some points here.
Looks like we're going live here.
It looks like we are actually live, yeah. All right, fair enough. They started off quickly. They caught me completely off guard. Great first kill there by Bonkers onto Daga. Gets immediately traded for those, so Not much happening on the mid. Beyond that, teams are just exchanging their damage here. Medics are flying. Stan gets taken down as well, though. Players are falling on both sides, and it looks like the Poles are actually taking the upper hand here with Vanny down as well. No heals for the Swag team, so Jevin is the only player left alive on mid here. He gets taken down as well. That is a pretty decisive victory for our Polish players here on that mid fight, taking it into second immediately as well, seeing how much ground they can claim here. Daga is going to put some stickies up on the shutter, but that's all he's going to do. He's going to back out as well, and that's a second taken as well.
Yeah, just having Paparazzi and Bonkers at the at the tail end of that fight on the high ground positions, focus fire super well is what made the difference. It looked, it looked like it could have gone either way, but now they've got Grabber alive. They are going to have an uber advantage push, and then moving towards River to take it in.
Yeah, they're already mounted up. Ixie's on the Pyro, trying to deflect a little bit, keep that sentry alive, but it's so far back, it's barely denying any ground. A lot of cap time already as players pile onto the point, and nobody's really denying. Ixie jumps on, denies for a bit. Daga's there as well to put down some damage, and suddenly everybody died. Grabba manages to just narrowly escape, get out of there before it gets too hot. Gets cleaned up anyway as Jevin finds him. Couldn't hide from him, so that is a bit of an unfortunate push for the Poles here. Obviously, Swag are going to immediately use this opportunity to take back their second and try to even push into mid here a little bit, where they're going to meet a Solar, aka Wanzu. But yeah, they're going to have to back off here. It's going to be a lot of pressure from Swag. BB has managed to slip in behind. He might get onto Vanny here. Does not quite land the shots he needs to. He's going to get denied by the other scouts, so Vanny lives for now and keeps that Uber.
Yeah, they've negotiated those couple of traps that were set for them on that mid. They've taken the mid clearly. They've kept hold of their Uber. Grabber's still a mile away, and they have two picks as well. So they're just going to stick one guy on second and immediately take it into last. Dagger taking the Uber in directly into the right side. They've got to deal with the two players that are under it. So Salt and Bonkers and the Nevermudster. And they've actually pushed out of the left spot. One Nubby does get a frag underneath, so the threat is now coming underneath for NeedMoreSwag. Dagger he's hit a nice shot to Bonkers, but will back up. There's still players stuck in River for the side of NeedMoreSwag, but Paparazzi with the heals going to clean both of them up. Dagger having a brief opportunity to shoot it, Grabber, but couldn't quite take it.
Yeah, and Caper is the only player left here. He manages to slip into lower lobby. Stan is sweeping normal lobby, but he hasn't checked lower just yet. Caper definitely is hiding there. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to accomplish much when two players are on last and second gets capped off as well. So he might just go for a cheeky little flank play here. Better keep your eyes on that guy. He's going to be a loose cannon here. He's going to draw some attention from the Poles, who are, well, maybe willing to use this Uber advantage they have here to take mid as they move forward, pressure back the Swag players through choke. Even have Nubby on the sniper trying to make some stuff happen, but he just can't really get the angles. Caper, unfortunately, does not win the fight against Paparazzi behind, but Ixie in the meanwhile manages to get through choke and kill Solar, so that's a decent trade, I would argue. However, they do lose two more of their players. There goes Nubby as well. It's only Vanny and Daga left. Vanny almost has his Uber, so at the worst case, he can at least live. Loses Daga as well, though. He's gonna have to run for his life here into last. Manages to stay alive for so long. Survives for so long, and he actually just does get into last. Keep his Uber alive. Bonkers is just narrowly gonna die there in lobby as well, and the Poles are gonna have to slow down a bit here as they lose Stan as well. Grabba now find himself in a bit of a precarious position. Only two people to heal as they get pressured down. They're actually gonna force the Uber out of him. Vanny responds with his own. They're gonna have to force these Polish players back through big door. Solar escapes through choke as well. Paparazzi tries to slip back in. There's nobody really to contest him immediately, but he does get cleaned up as well by Ixie.
Yeah, this is one of the things about this Polish team. They don't stop fighting. They just keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. And they did really well. They got all 5 frags, but the spawners were able to save Vanny, so he didn't end up getting forced. And losing Stan as well meant they got pushed back off that second quite easily by NeedMoreSwag. They were just kind of blobbing up there. 5 players together, just Caper on the flank at the moment. All these 5 players taking the heals. They want to push into mid, but they can't quite make it happen. It is dry right now, but obviously with no picks, no real damage advantage either. It's very difficult to push through a choke such as this gully wash mid to second choke. But so far, it's been back and forth, and immediately they want to go straight in here.
Wow, they're very aggressive. They actually managed to get onto Vanny before he gets his Uber up. That is very crucial for the Poles here. I mean, they drop Paparazzi in the Uber, they also lost Stan, but that is such a decisive fight. Now they just have to DM it out. They're not really getting the frags they need. They lost BB as well, and actually, the rest of the team has managed to back out to mid. Nubby has slipped in behind in the meantime. With pressure coming in from front, Caper manages to pick up Solar. Bonkers and Graba left alone. Graba is obviously immediately running for his life. Paparazzi manages to meet up back with his medic as Stan gets picked up by Nubby again. He's just wreaking havoc here, just being a nuisance, manages to escape as well, so Swag making the most of a very bad situation there and holding on as if nothing happened.
Yeah, I mean, it could have got a lot worse for them. It looked at one moment like Dagger wanted to feed in through choke into the healed combo, but it decided better of it. At the moment, it's just a phase where we're waiting for the Uber to be built up here on the side of the Poles. They did keep Grubber alive, so they have negotiated the Uber advantage. They're moving through a big door at the moment. We're seeing everyone up top here for the side of NeedMoreSwag. They've seen that the threat is coming in behind. They're actually taking it pretty slow. The Sticky's up on the shutter. Nubby goes in for some kind of play to try and force the Uber out, but they won't get it, and they will get 100% here on the side of NeedMoreSwag.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a very interesting last hold indeed. With the equal Ubers, there's certainly a good chance. Bonker is gonna try to jump in, gets denied by the sentry though. Won't be able to get as much gun as he wants. It actually gets piped down by Daga as well. Solar, in the meantime, has managed to slip under the point here. He's in river. He gets spotted, unfortunately, as well. So that's now both soldiers eliminated for the Poles. And NeedMoreSwag stabilizing on last as the Poles wait for their rocketmen to come back. They're actually going to move up into river here. Caper's up on the sniper as well, seeing if he can maybe get a single little cheeky shot onto somebody. But all of the Polish players that are in lobby or big door, they're not really showing themselves at all, and NeedMoreSwag are just going to have to back out to last again. With Solar actually spawning up on the sniper as well. So you're going to see a bit of a sniper duel here. Maybe he can get a cheeky little shot through main. He's certainly lining up for it. Here are targets. Let's see if he hits the valuable ones. Body shot onto Nubby isn't going to quite cut it, but Nubby gets cleaned up anyway. So that's a decent trade, I would argue.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he ate that rocket just as Nubby did go down it was a good focus fire there to have the scope follow up as Nubby picked him, but, you know, NeedMoreSwag will be happy that despite losing their soldier, they did manage to trade out the fact of the sniper. The sniper is always the biggest threat when he is on the field in these stalemate situations. So, you know, it's as good as it can really go for the defensive side. When there are frags traded like this, there's more opportunity obviously to force, but at the moment there is a level 3 sentry gun. It's full health, not under threat of being spammed, and there is a pyro protecting it as well, Ixie.
Yeah, they're definitely holding themselves up on last year, and it looks like the Poles are just waiting for Solar to make a play here on the sniper, or some sack play from the defending side to go horrifically wrong. But why would they, why would they do anything? Why would they risk anything? They can just try to make some room other ways. I mean, Jevin does manage to slip in behind. He is just out on second. He's going to jump up to river. He's right behind the entire enemy combo. Gets onto Graba immediately. Graba holds on, though. Not intimidated by Jevin at all. Doesn't even pop his Uber. No follow-up can get to him either. Daga gets taken down as well, trying to maybe follow up a little bit there. They do pick up Paparazzi. It's going to be a tough sell. Solar gets picked up as well. Trading for Ixie, effectively. There goes Nubby. It's not looking good for the defensive side here. Vanny is going to have to use his Uber to protect the point. Lots of cap time already as well. Sentry goes down finally. The spawners are here, though. It looks like they're going to be able to hang on for the time being. Stan somehow just now dies. And Bonkers is going to have to back up with the rest of his team. Meet up on second. Swag, hang on.
Yeah, BB did a lot of work there. He just kind of ran in, snuck in through secret, got a little bit cap time on point, and they're able to force the Uber off the back of it, just the threat of the cap time coming in. Now seeing actually the spy from Nubby, he finds Grabber alone, but eventually BB does come back to his medic and protects him just as he goes in for a bit of a shanking. Now we're going to see the Uber coming here, Surny.
Yep, there they are. They finally use it to its fullest extent. Take down the sentry immediately with Nubby dead, obviously. That's a player missing. Daga, Jevin, and Ixie all taken down. A beautiful push thus far. They just have to get the cap time, but the spawners are here. Nubby is doing a lot of damage, and Graba is the only player left alive, because, yeah, you just had, like, Caper just cleaning up everybody, so... Yeah,
unfortunate.
Fell apart fast.
Second push in a row that we've seen it was from a different angle, but it was the same kind of thing where the Poles just kind of really committed heavily onto point, but they got both their scouts on the point early. And you know, as soon as they die, it's really difficult to make anything happen in that situation. And as we now move with NeedMoreSwag, trying to walk into mid here, through the choke, Vanny has to wait a long time. They seem very reluctant to pop it Uber, but it means they've actually drops 3 players. They've got the Uber now out onto Dagger and Caper. They will clean stun up, so it's going to be difficult for the Poles to re-push with no Uber and with a couple of frags traded in both sides, but they want to take it back in.
Oh wow, Solar hits a great little shot onto Daga there to open up this fight. And they're certainly determined to hang on here, cleaning up Nubby and Caper as well, pushing these Swag players back to where they belong, aka their own second, and actually taking them even further into lobby. So much pressure from the Poles, just keeping them at bay, keeping them pushing back more and more. Ixie's gonna have to spawn up on Heavier to try and hold on as best they can. They have an Uber disad as well. There's so much pressure onto the point already. Both soldiers on. There's so much cap time. Daga gets taken down as well, so that's a lot of damage missing. The Heavy is out of play as well. So low HP for everybody on Swag. And finally, the Poles managed to round out the first round of Gully Wash.
That was so impressive. All the way back from that mid retake. It wasn't a natural kind of we can come back in here. It was 2 players traded a piece, and it was 2 soldiers having to walk in through a choke that was sticking up by a demo man. But just Solar hit an amazing rocket onto Dagger, and they converted the round off the back of it off sheer momentum.
Speaking of, and immediately in the next mid-fight, Daga gets taken out instantaneously, but the Poles crumble immediately after. 3 players taken down. Paparazzi dangerously low there as well. Both Scouts and Medic now running for their lives as Nubby is in behind as well. Managed to do a lot of damage. Paparazzi gets cleaned up by Caper. BB stuck in as well. Manages to at least pick up Ixie, and Grabba escapes with his life, but he has not healed anybody for a while, so Vanny is going to have a big advantage to boast. And might even be able to take his team into second here, depending on how quickly the Poles set up the fence. No, they managed to get out into second, set up a bit of a defense, and it looks like Stat is even very far forward, going into a big door here with his medic. I guess they're pretty confident that they can maybe get a cheeky little bit of damage, maybe even a pick. Turns out that's not going to happen. They're just going to develop into the stalemate instead. And Vanny is woefully aware that his advantage has dwindled as well, as Nubby's already playing sniper again, looking to see if he can shake this up a little bit. Lots of pressure for Big Door, though. They're very far forward. They really want to give Nubby the sightlines that he desires. And right now, doesn't get that many priority targets. I mean, Wanzu's the only one even peeking here. And he certainly isn't taking anywhere. Stan gets taken down by Daga, actually, in lower lobby. Nubby trades for his life, unfortunately, and they managed to pick up Wanzu as well. So it's looking good for NeedMoreSwag. That is, apparently it's a tongue twister of a name. NeedMoreSwag, as they now make their way, slowly but surely, taking some ground. Jevon manages to get a bit of spam in for choke, but they still can't get into the second. The positioning is just too good for the Poles, and the respawners are here as well.
Yeah, they couldn't capitalize off the fact that they did pick Stat up, because I think it was Cape who actually lost a scout 1v1 to BB in the lobby area. If he had won that, it would have fallen apart very quickly for the Poles, I think. But because BB won that clutch 1v1, even without the buff, they were able to hold on. They had the extra player, and even without a demo man, it was fairly easy for them to hold.
Unfortunate outcome for Nubby there. Tries to go for a spy play, but it just didn't quite work out. The Polish player is a bit too aware to check their surroundings and turn around every once in a while. Now with that player down, the Poles maybe looking to seize the opportunity getting into mid, but Stan just gets nuked down by the spam. As BB followed up as well, Grabba is going to have to get out of there, couldn't save his players, and now NeedMoreSwag have tasted blood. They have acquired themselves a neat advantage. They pick up Solar as well up top here. Paparazzi, he's trying to fight them off, gets destroyed as well. And it's only Grabba left. He has to use his Uber, even though, honestly, you don't even know that's a great choice. Maybe he can block the point a little bit, buy a bit of time for his team, but ultimately, there's only so many spawners on Last that are already getting pressured as well. Vanny didn't even have to use his Uber yet, so they can just recollect themselves and try to get back into Last at their own pace. Nubby manages to slip through River without anybody noticing. I mean, Wanzu's watching point, and Stan is at least checking. Paparazzi's down there as well, so they managed to snuff him out. But That could have been dangerous.
NeedMoreSwag, it doesn't seem they know exactly what they want to be doing. They should be playing this advantage, you know, by the book. Just get their 6 players up, get them buffed, get them in position. They've got such a chunky advantage. They're now going to have to wait for Nubby for a little bit. It looks like they might even want to go in before Nubby spawns, so they push in with 5 here.
That's what they're doing. They're actually taking a lot of players in through River. I mean, Scout and a Soldier both trying to get down there. The Stickies are cleared off the point, so a bit of cap time can be had. Caper gets cleaned up. Daga also dying already, though. 2 players out of this push. That's not necessarily looking good for NeedMoreSwag, but they still have Nubby in there. He can't quite get anything done. And the Poles hang on to last very, very handily. And they know everybody's in front of them, so they can just push out, try to retake second. Jevon is going to have to jump away here as well. He can't hold them off alone. Going to have to back out to mid. The Poles retake second, and they have a full Uber to boast now.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta feel they've got to count their Ubers properly there, because they had such a big Uber advantage. They could have waited for Nubby if they wanted to. Instead, they pushed with 5. Tried to make it work, but obviously they only had aggression from one angle, and it's very difficult. We've seen actually a drop-down play come out from the Pole team, but Paparazzi takes so much damage. They do manage to hold on to the Uber, but Stan is again dueling in 1v1s in this big door area, but at the moment it's going pretty well here for the Poles.
Oh yeah, they are making a lot of progress. They actually used the Uber for big door as well. The trade is underway, but Bonkers has been dropped early, so he is not going to be a part of it. And Pole's actually going to have to back off here. They had a slightly worse Uber. Stan is taken out of the equation as well. Paparazzi gets cleaned up, so players are dropping like flies. NeedMoreSwag are definitely doing their homework here, but Solar has managed to slip in behind. He is in lobby, and certainly nobody is looking for him, so mayhaps there is a chance he can make a play here for his team, and he certainly is going to have to speed it along, as NeedMoreSwag are already on second. They have a slight ad, it's not much to write home about, but it could be enough for them to push off of if they so desired. Navi is waiting in big door, expecting maybe a Solar to come, but nope, he's gonna go the other way, he's gonna jump up. He kind of gets caught out, and unfortunately it doesn't look like he's gonna get the kills he desires.
Yeah, it took them a while to spot him there, but it was like awful situation where, you know, he was stuck behind, but he was stuck in choke against gamers just in the shutter. 2 scouts just waiting for him. He had to either waddle or go for a bomb, and as soon as he bombed, he's obviously giving himself away with a bit of an audio cue there, so unfortunately he couldn't quite get the timing to work on that flank. It means they've actually been pushed back to last, really, off only really a couple of picks on that fight on mid, so yeah, good transitions there certainly for NeedMoreSwag.
Let's see if they can convert the last push this time. They have opted to put Caper on the sniper this time around, so who knows, maybe he can make an opening pick here, make a difference for his team, open up this obvious stalemate. A Solar counter snipes on the defensive side as well. They also have BB on the Pyro, and obviously the sentry out of Paparazzi, so they are holed up here for holding this as hard as they possibly can for the Poles. And NeedMoreSwag really need to find a way to bust open this hold. Maybe Caper will go for the hero shot, who knows. Graba is a bit exposed, but he knows when to hide behind the pillar. He knows what he has to do here. And actually, a lot of cap time comes out of Nubby. Nobody was really watching water, so he just slips past, gets about 3/4 of the cap done. So maybe that's going to be something they can play off of here as well, depending on how fast they wish to go. Looks like they're still banking on that Caper sniper, though.
Yeah, because there's so much cap time, Bonkers is actually going to have to sit either under or on the point, just because the threat of the scout can walk in and cap it instantly. It means you can see Dagger putting stickies down towards this point. Actually, just doesn't seem to care. He just walks straight into the stickies. He's going to go underneath to try and help his soldier partner out. He does pick up Ixie for it, but Bonkers will go down to a nice little snipe underneath. We can now see Nubby trying to take that duel underneath as well. Watching so weak. Caper picking up BB. The Pyro with a nice headshot as well means there is suddenly a lot of pressure, and Stan wants to actually ease that a little bit. He does trade out the frag, he gets Caper, he does go down himself, so frag's being traded every which way at the moment, and the pressure just builds and builds and builds here for the Poles.
NeedMoreSwag, they still don't really want to push, obviously. They still don't want to take the risk. Ixie gets taken down. They're gonna put a lot of damage onto Daga. Nubby manages to maybe slip past a little bit again as well, but they're just putting so much pressure on them in River. But not finding the openings they want to. Even if they get the kills, they just end up trading. It's not quite working for them just yet. They really have to try and find an opening here that works for them. As Stan is just doing so much, holding down River so close, managed to pick up Nubby. Caper cleared up by Solar as well. So again, they're just throwing bodies at the point or at openings, and they're not quite getting where they want to with it. Now, obviously, the Poles see a bit of an opportunity here, seize control of lobby and maybe even top River here. Obviously, NeedMoreSwag is still holding close, so it's not going to work out in their favor, and they're going to have to back out to last again. The sentry is still there. They still have the pyro ready, so they're feeling very free to hold this for as long as they like. I mean, it's not great entertainment, but they are up around, so if they choose to play it this way, the ball is in NeedMoreSwag's court, and they need to have something happen here. Caper does manage to actually step onto the point, get the kill onto Bonkers. Lots of cap time there. BB is going to be forced to stand on it as best he can. Obviously, Ixie is now trying to get on there as well. He gets cleaned up immediately. They're not going to let that happen. But it's a lot of money to trade there, aka losing both of your soldiers just to make sure that the cap doesn't get cleaned up. They're finally back up again. That is a lot of cap time, so it is quite scary if you're the Poles here. You're gonna have to keep an eye on that. Nobody's really watching River all that closely. Caper managed to slip by again. They saw him this time, so they're gonna make their way to point. But even that one player down there is gonna draw so much attention away from all the other doors.
Yeah, Nubby keeps peeking this balcony area, but can't quite seem to find a shot that he would suit on to Grabber. He's been given a lot of space by these soldiers. The problem is when you've got this sentry gun and this pyro, they can deny sacks coming in, but they're not as good at denying the sniper. As you can see, Sniper just picks off that shot into Bonkers. So it's actually really impressive. The combination of the cap time coming in is drawing the soldiers to that cap. The soldiers are obviously good classes to block that cap, but it means there are spaces emerging in areas like the balcony or even river area for the sniper to peek.
It's certainly working decently well for them. I mean, they've been getting picks, but it's tough because if you have that sniper, him getting a single pick can only get you so far, because effectively in the fight he's still gonna not be that important, right? So you're still gonna be fighting 5v5. So you're gonna have to get a couple of crucial picks there. Jevon is gonna manage to actually spam down the sentry, so it's gonna compromise the defense for the Poles here a little bit. Nubby seizes the opportunity immediately, jumps onto the point together with Caper. That's a lot of cap time, but BB jumps in to deny it. Lights them up, and they clear out so many players. I blinked and I didn't even see what happened. But the Poles have suddenly killed 4 players on the enemy team here. Daga is running for his life, gets cleaned up as well. Vanny managed to escape with his full Uber in tow. And the Poles managed to push out to second.
Yeah, Stan just doing an excellent job clearing up those 2 cappers. They came very, very close to capping it out, and then immediately just launching himself F1 car style down Riverside. Dagger wasn't loaded. He wasn't even loaded himself, so it's a slightly awkward one. Moving into choke as well here into mid, but the Uber trade is coming out here. Certainly a much better Uber trade for the side of NeedMoreSwag. Jevon just standing in, but we see Bonkers try and come in, make something happen from the banana area, but so many frags in NeedMoreSwag's favor. They want to press the issue, they want to push forward, and it means they are going to probably get second here, but Stan with a nice trap once more. At the moment, he is on top of his game.
They are certainly rolling forward here again. NeedMoreSwag, they are very comfortable holding this lobby. They just like looking into the Poles last, but they have to yet convert. That being said, that was quite the impressive second retake. Caper is just going to beast mode in, manages to pick up Stan, which is quite a good pick to have, in my opinion. If you can trade a scout for the demo man, that's something you'll probably take any day of the week. And the defense is obviously very compromised on the side of the Poles. I mean, they have BB on the heavy, but he's going to be a bullet sponge, a magnet for all kinds of things. Both medics having their Ubers as well. They might be looking to take this in. There is the Uber out of the Poles. Vanny obviously pops his own as well. It is slightly better, but they are down a player already. And Nubby gets taken down as well, so nobody to really finish up that cap time closely. Man!
Yeah, there's a little bit of medic minutiae I want to point out. Grabber there did something absolutely incredible. You can see the scout got into his face. He looked absolutely prime. You know, no one protected the medic. He looked like he was just going to 2-shot easily. But what Grabber did is he actually jumped and he served the second shot. So he was actually launched to the other side of that last point, launched away from the scout. He couldn't finish it up with that third shot, despite how low Grabber was. So that's just a wonderful piece of medic play. Just someone managed to serve a scattergun shot away to safety.
That's it's quite impressive indeed. And it's certainly going to keep his team in it for longer. I mean, there's only 4 minutes left. We've seen a single round thus far. Grabba actually gets taken down by Ixie, who managed to slip through. So this could be, finally, this could be the opening that NeedMoreSwag have been waiting for. Let's hope they do it right this time. They wait for their respawners. They use this full Uber advantage that they have. It is one of the best chances they've had yet. They need to utilize this if they want to equalize the line here, if they want to take these rounds. It is getting into a bit of a time crunch here. That being said, obviously the Poles desperately trying to set up a defense that will hold these players at bay for as long as possible. But the blue wave makes its way slowly forward. Looks like they're deciding where they want to go. They've settled on River, so we're gonna see the push in through there. Immediately, Scout slips into water there. Ixie gets taken down though. Paparazzi's also managed to stay alive for quite long there. He's gonna get killed by Nubby, but that's all that really happened during that Uber. Jevin gets cleaned up by Bonkers. Nice little splash against the ceiling there. And yeah, that's pretty much all that happened. Caper and Nubby both get absolutely decimated by Wanzu. He just destroys them, and Bonkers doesn't quite get out. Daga manages to stand him off a little bit. That being said, Stan is here to try and take on this combo by himself. Finally, he's getting some heals. Manages to pick up Vanny with some nice stickies. Daga is left alone up in River. It's just a whole mess all over the place. Grabba gets killed by Ixie. There's Stan taken down as well, so NeedMoreSwag are not out of this just yet. They still have an opportunity. Daga has actually managed to slip in through water. He's gonna get onto the point. Paparazzi is there to meet him, but Nubby is there to help out, and there's the rest of the team. So they actually equalize the rounds. 2.5 minutes left.
I want to say that was like beautifully played, textbook TF2, but it really wasn't. You know, the Poles went for an aggressive play. It was a nice flank. They kind of sandwiched the medic between BB the scout and Stan coming in from behind. But then Ixie just runs in and takes a bunch of 1v1s, wins all of them, just completely dominates the server, and they win the round off the back of it. They get a quick 5k there for Ixie turning it around.
He's gonna try to carry it forward in this round. Bonker's gonna be the first to go down. 2 Nubby. Solar gets picked up as well. They lose Jevin and Vanny. That is a big pick for the Poles here because they still have the heals out of Grabba. He is trying his best to keep the remaining 2 players alive. Obviously, lots of pressure onto him. Nubby's there. They have a Caper in their face as well, who's just going to take care of Stan, and then they're going to take down Paparazzi as well. There goes Grabba, taken care of. Bonkers is the only player alive, and he literally just spawned. So, NeedMoreSwag make the best of that terrible situation at mid. Lost their medic early, but that's actually going to come back to work in their favor.
Yeah, it means they're going to have quite a big Uber advantage here now, 30%, and with just a minute and a half left, essentially we're in a situation where NeedMoreSwag are pretty much the only team with a real, likelihood of winning this game. It would, take some kind of absolute disaster for the Poles to be able to pressure it back and make it coast to coast now. And as it ticks away, we're seeing they're building up to 100%. They know they have this Uber advantage. They're going to take it very shortly here, Surny.
Let's hope they converted beautifully and make this a quick round, because I don't think they want to go into the golden cap as the Uber gets popped in through the shutter. They get juggled so much by the Sentry and Paparazzi though. On the Pyro doing so much work. The Sentry just now taken down. They managed to pick up 2 players, but they have no ground on last at all. They managed to get Grabba, so he can't get his own Uber, and actually, it looks like that's going to be enough for them to get a second round. Holy crap.
Wow, this has been an absolute steal. It was 1-0 for the Poles for such a long time.
20 minutes or something, yeah.
Crazy,
oh
and then just
God.
2 quick rounds completely turn the game around, steal the map away. Looks like, not what we're expecting at all from this map. Gully Wash so far this season has been so fast-paced, so absolutely crazy as we go into this last very consequential mid, where just a few logs are going to be padded. But Gully Wash has been so
they're farming kills. Oh my.
But this one wasn't. This was just an absolute steal at the death.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I'm surprised. Maybe Need More Swag just took like 25 minutes to get warmed up. Well, we'll go with that theory for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, it, as we said, we weren't expecting a lot of stalemates. We were expecting more pushes, and for the first 5-10 minutes or so, it was kind of back and forth. But then it seemed, Need More Swag was stuck on that last point uh, for a long, long time, and it doesn't matter, how much the polls you want to push out. They didn't really, they weren't really given many opportunities. Obviously, Need More Swag had the advantage of having that fourth capture down. They could play it at their pace. They could, just wait for an opportunity. Anytime there was a bit of risk, they could just back up, keep their medics safe, keep their Uber intact, and I, in the end, it wasn't a case of they broke that last hold. It was the push out from the poles went badly for them, and then Ixie just absolutely annihilates everyone. They get the round off the back of that.
And I think that's just like the turning point. At that point, it like crumpled together for the Poles. They're kind of worn out by holding last for 15 minutes straight, so it crumples from there. But yeah, let's take a quick look at some numbers here before these very keen players probably immediately wish to continue onto their next map. I mean, it stands out to me that despite this being such a slow round, there was a lot of damage dealt.
Yeah, I mean, normally when you see this many stalemates, you don't expect to see both demos posting 300 plus DPM. Even one of the soldiers as well, Jevon, doing a standout job, a lot of damage. I mean, though it wasn't like they were just sitting on last waiting for the sniper to get a pick. There was a lot of spam going down, a lot of dueling underneath. Certainly, One Shoe and Nubby were just constantly fighting underneath. MGE, Cully was last, but looking at these logs, there's not too much to say really.
Mm.
Pretty close really between the teams. A couple of extra deaths for Grabber, perhaps being a kind of consequential one. But perhaps the thing that stands out to me is just Grabber getting so many more assists and value as well. Meant that he was committing a lot with his combo plays and with his team to obviously get those assists, whereas Vanny baiting a little bit more, but consequentially keeping himself alive more, and there were quite a few uber advantage opportunities that the Poles were able to wrangle off the back of that.
Interestingly, the logs say the Poles have lost 3 advantages. That's I mean, I haven't been keeping track of that, but that's a lot. You don't see 3 advantages lost that often. So that's a
Yeah.
number that you usually don't pay that much attention to because it's always 1 or 0. But interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it can sometimes happen when you do like a coast to coast push, where you're
I
taking
guess,
kind of
yeah.
2-3 points without trying to use that Uber. And there were a couple of times you could see how well Grabber was doing, kind of walking into mid, uh, you know, walking behind his team, making sure he was just keeping hold of that Uber every opportunity he got. And they're often able to just win a lot of map position, a lot of points, territory points off the back of how well Grapple was doing keeping hold of that Uber. So it's not always a
That is
negative.
true. Yeah, it's not necessarily negative. Yeah. That being said, we have another map to play. I don't remember if Reckoner was also in the rotation last season. Uh, Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, it
I do not
was.
believe. Oh no, it was. Okay, cool. So it's got the recency bias to an extent, obviously, but people should be familiar with this version. It has changed a bit over the years. It's gonna be a different story. This plays very differently from Goalie Wash in many ways. So I wonder if there might be some suits that suits a different team differently. Maybe the Poles are gonna take this one home very easily, very handily, right? Who knows?
It's certainly possible. I mean, I always think with a map like Reckoner, until you've seen, standout evidence that a team is especially good at it is a bit of a wild card because it's not a team that people play pug after pug after pug on. It's not a
Yeah,
team that everyone is going to know every single strat, every single possibility. So, it's a bit of a wild card map that probably favors, I'd probably say the Poles maybe, in that they are slightly the underdogs. And I also think people make the mistake of thinking that, having an established team like the Poles that have been playing together season after season, that it's a disadvantage to play a slightly unusual map. I think it's actually often more of an advantage, because while other teams are sorting out, how to do their process mids and how to do their gully wash last pushes, it means the established teams have more time to just nail down these one or two maps that they haven't played in previous seasons.
Yeah, that is very much a valid point to make. I always thought that was a weird thing to say as well. How the established teams, how the wildcard maps tend to favor the ragtag teams that are mixed together a little bit more. I guess it's just the idea of if one's a wildcard, the other one is as well, right? It does make sense that the established teams would maybe have a bit more of an advantage on the wildcard maps because they have more time to practice them. The other, the mixed teams, they're trying to get used to each other more. They're sorting out other stuff. They're not maybe busy enough scrimming this map or playing it in pugs, as you said. Because I mean, honestly, what do people even play in pugs other than Snake, Gully, and Process?
I think that's about it.
Honestly, I think that's the three maps.
Occasionally.
Yeah, maybe Sunshine, but everybody just says that's Process anyway. So let's be honest with ourselves. It's like Process 1.5. So yeah, it certainly is a different map. It plays a little differently than the others. That being said, it looks like, towards the tail of Gully Wash at least, that NeedMoreSwag, we're gaining a lot of momentum. And momentum is scary. TF2 can very much be a momentum-based game. Once you've got that ball rolling, it's going downhill, it's hard to stop it very easily. So I think it really is up to the Poles here to, try and stunt that a little bit. Try to get back into the game, find their way back into it. Maybe not make as many, questionable push choices, trying to push out a last and chasing too deep. But, comes in a moment, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect the Poles to change up their game style, really. I think they always want to take these slightly risky pushes, and we saw at times in that first map, it won the first round for them, but perhaps lost that second round as well. So it's give or take, really.
It's a bit of a toss up. We're gonna have to see more statistics on whether or not that strategy is going to work out well for them. That being said, the round looks to be underway. It doesn't look like we're getting baited, so the players are actually going to fight each other on this mid as they meet each other on the left side. Both soldiers bombing high for NeedMoreSwag, just going into Toxic instead, opting to cause a bit of a diversion, coming back in immediately, but nobody has fallen just yet. Ix's going to pick up the first kill onto Wanzu, quickly followed by BB killing Vanny. It's actually a very crucial pick here because now NeedMoreSwag gonna have to try and scramble for Grabba. They have no heals. They managed to actually pick up quite a lot of frags in the meantime. Bonkers is gonna have to try and protect Grabba here, who's getting chased down by Ixi and Nubby. They managed to pick up Ixi. Nubby is gonna fight Bonkers, but loses life himself. Daga also does not opt to chase Grabba, who has escaped last.
Yeah, they all kind of tunnel visioned the soldier Bonkers there, but couldn't get Grabba. He's just a little bit too slippery. Gets himself out of there. But we see, the Ixi train seems to have no brakes, getting a 4K on that mid in quick succession. If he'd won that 1v1 against Bonkers as well, would have been able to frag the medic off the back of it. So very, very close to consistent Ixi domination.
And Jevon trying there as well to get onto Grabba, just to make that medic either at least pop the Uber, get it out of the equation somehow, because it's not a very favorable position to hold in here. Nubby actually gets a beautiful shot onto Grabba, dropping that Uber. He takes it out of the equation as they wanted to do. That's all you can ask for there. That is absolutely beautiful. Obviously the Poles are still on second here, but they now find themselves in a very, very tough position. Nubby with another great headshot onto Stan as well. Eyeing down Bonkers now, who's just going to get cleaned up. They actually used the Uber? Vanny got forced there. Okay.
Yeah, once she managed to sneak in through lobby and force Vanny, but it doesn't seem to have stopped Nubby by any means. He doesn't care whether his medic's using Uber or not. He is just popping head after head after head. He actually wants to push himself forward alone, peeking into second from the toxic area. Doesn't actually see any opposition, so he's going to walk forward. He's going to continue going, not even stopping to cap the second point, walking in towards last. He just wants to hit as many headshots, farm as many headshots for as long as he can. Perhaps looking towards that off-class of the season award at the end of the day.
Well, he's certainly performing well right now. Hits another headshot to deny Bonkers there. Send him back to spawn, at least to resupply. And they've already got lobby under control here as well. Obviously, Navi's staring down this hallway at the top here. Very dangerous. You don't want to be peeking that angle at all. He's making his way over to the other side, potentially. The poles seem to have stabilized at least a little bit. They obviously have an Uber themselves as well. And they're going to try to hold this loss as best they can. They have the sentry set up. They've certainly fortified themselves again, but this is looking very familiar. This is already looking quite familiar here. You know, poles on last. NeedMoreSwag trying to get in. A little bit of a sniper perhaps trying to make stuff happen. Wanzu is going to be the first casualty. BB does get picked up as well. And there goes Stan. Again, just these scouts for NeedMoreSwag picking up a lot, but they're all feeding into the sentry as well. That's 3 players immediately picked up by the automaton. So it's not going to work out for them just yet. NeedMoreSwag is still going to have to sit back here, see what they can make happen. Nubby is not going to be able to trade with Bonkers there or get a close shot off, so Poles hold on. Just barely, but they hold on for now. Daga manages to pick up Bonkers there with a cheeky little fight around the corner. Oh boy. Wanzu gets onto Daga there to trade it out, but my lord.
Yeah, Stan gets caught as well now in the rollout area, so they're going to try and take this in. They do still have to deal... In fact, they don't have to deal with a level 3, it's gone down, but there is a heavy weapons guy up. There's a window opportunity now with the picks they have. The red Uber is going to come in. Vanny's actually just out of there. It was all a roots, all a pit. The Foresight's actually going to come out now by BB running in. The back guys on the scout. It's going to go towards the point, but no one's loaded. Nobody doesn't have any rockets, doesn't have anyone to aim at. They run in, run out, but Vanny isn't a guy who's able to get out at all. And it's going to be a last-ditch attempt for Nubby. He sees Grabber, but he's so slippery, just snaking and juking his way in and out of every kind of crevice on this map. Nubby can't find him, and it's actually the Poles come out the better of it, come into second, and they still have an Uber advantage, still have a player advantage.
Yeah, that's 3 players down still. Like, holding mid is going to be very tough for them here. Jevin trades out effectively with Stan, so that's still a decent trade to do, but it's only going to slow these Poles down so much. They already have BB capping mid here. They're almost on their Uber. They're ready to take this into second as well, and NeedMoreSwag are woefully aware they're far back. Nubby is holding the angle onto Toxic. He's going to have a sudden realization that that is not where anybody's coming from. He's going to get cleaned up by Solar, and well, they're gonna lose Bonkers to Caper, but honestly, I don't think there's any shame in that. That's been happening all game, so yeah, they're gonna take second off the back of that as well. They're dwindling their advantage, but at this point, they've managed to grab 3 points without having to, you know, use it or anything, so that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, this is a classic example of what we were saying in the logs of the previous round. That was obviously on the logs that will go down as an Uber advantage loss, but they'll be more than happy with the 3 points they've taken off the back of it. And you know, now we're in a reverse situation. It's the Poles who have this 4th point. It's on them really to play the pace they want to, and the pace seems to be Sniper TF2, 1-2 up on the Sniper.
Yeah, and people love sniping in this game right now. It's people have realized that a class that can instantly kill people at infinite range is quite powerful. So with Caper on the defensive side sniping, counter sniping, we have Wanzu, and he gets a decent pick onto Daga there. Unfortunately though, Daga managed to put a lot of damage onto Graba and actually gets the force out of him, so that's gonna force them to come in. Doesn't matter because Wanzu gets Vanny and completely equalizes any sort of disadvantage they could have had. So it still is in the cards. They've only lost Stan thus far. I mean, Wanzu is dangerously low on the sniper, and they've also lost Paparazzi now, but the Poles are not going to give this one up without a fight. They managed to pick up Caper there. BB gets a nice little cleanup onto him, and I mean, he's finally dead. Okay, they've decided to back out finally. Kevin is going to waddle forward a little bit on second here, and it looks like NeedMoreSwag are going to be able to retake it for the time being.
Yeah, Watcher's still up on the sniper. Did get a brief sight of the medic Vanny, but couldn't pull the trigger this time. Certainly not ringing out many headshots at the moment, but in some meaty body shots that could prove pivotal. Certainly, dropping Vanny in that last fight was a big deal, and actually opted to try and move through Toxic here on the NeedMoreSwag, but moving through Toxic against a sniper is very difficult. He's such a small, narrow choke that not only can the explosives deny, but also the sniper as well. And we see Dagger picked up At the moment, NeedMoreSwag have their tails between their legs, going to have to run back to last, and there's just more and more space being opened up for one shoe.
Yeah, he's just gonna go off. There's so many high doors that are just open, so even if you're jumping through them, you're such an easy, obvious target for a sniper. He manages to take down the sentry gun, a very crucial pick here, as the Uber comes out of Vanny. He's trying to keep his players alive. Obviously, Grubber responded with his own 40 exchange. It is slightly better, though, and they managed to get like a millisecond of cap time before having to back out again. But they have 2 players up right now. They lose Bonkers. There's decent positioning here. They have the heals. Jevin is very disconnected from his heals, so he's gonna get cleaned up as well. Caper is nowhere near the medic. Just finally, Vanny's making his way to the point, and they managed to push them back so far with half the cap time. That's Grabba out of position as well, gets picked up. It looks like Wanzu is still trying his best to go for these cheeky sniper shots here. Does not manage to do it there. And yet again, NeedMoreSwag stabilize, take back their own second, and potentially take this forward. They have a sizable advantage.
I have to say that Sniper Lifer is very, very entertaining. Got 6 kills, dropped a medic, killed a sentry gun. The one thing he didn't do was actually hit a single headshot. It was all body shots.
Don't need to. It works fine. Overrated anyway, and clearly it's been working out well for them up until this very point where NeedMoreSwag are quite dominatingly taking mid as well. They now have a full Uber, and they are willing to use it. They send in Jevin very early here. Obviously, there's nobody to meet so far, so Poles are woefully aware of their situation. They're going to build their Uber. They're going to wait on last, and this could very well be a coast-to-coast for NeedMoreSwag here. If they manage to convert this last push, they certainly have a chance. The sentry is not yet built up, so there is a good chance they can maybe get a cheeky sack in here as well, depending on how quickly they move. Turns out they're just going to be content sitting in lobby for a while. Just, scoping this out a little bit. Nubby goes for a little bit of a jump there, gets stunted though. BB's going to have a word with that. Push him into the pillar instead, so it's not going to happen just yet. There you go, tries again. Gets one rocket onto Grabba, doesn't get the second though. You hate to see it.
Yeah, one of the things that's been talked about on this last is, how easy it is for the medic just to sit back in the spawn area, but Grabba's not that kind of medic. Grabba wants to be forward, putting the heals forward on his team, trust his mechanics, trust his serfs, and you can see how, often he has the sentry to protect him, he has obviously the players he's healing to protect him as well, and he puts a lot of trust in those guys. So that's not a factor that we're likely to see on this Polish side, certainly.
Certainly is interesting to witness. Bonkers again gets picked up a little bit there, but Solar has slipped past. He is on the spy, gets a few revolver shots off. Vanny actually holding on there, very confident that his team will take care of the Frenchman in his face. They managed to, but it was quite scary. Nubby's back up on the sniper as well, so we can get some cheeky headshots potentially, maybe even a crucial pick. For now, they're going to pressure him back, but it is an endless back and forth of off-classing here. Jevin is going to get picked up by BB on the rollout area. Maybe create a bit of ground here as well. Keep him back. But Nubby still going for these aggressive picks. He gets a shot onto Ixie. It's not an amazing pick, but it is a pick nevertheless, and it's gonna give him a little bit of time.
You can see how aggressive Stan plays at every opportunity, every space he's given, he takes. He's sticking up lobby, but actually Caper's managed to sneak his way in through all the traps, all the threat and all the spam. Gets a lot of damage down onto Stan, but can't convert the frag. And actually in reverse, I think it was BB picked up Dagger, so when we thought one demo man was going to go down, it's actually the other. Doesn't mean too much. I don't think the Poles are going to want to push out off the back of it, but maybe they are. They do have the demo pick and they do have the sniper on the field for NeedMoreSwag, so a lot of denial and a lot of DM potentially out of the game.
It is very much a stalemate that we've seen before, as one team tries desperately to get into last, waiting for their snipers, begging for the location of the enemy medic, seeing if they can potentially a headshot or something of that sort. Jevin tries to go for a bit of a play there. Obviously, it doesn't quite work out for him. Wanzu responds with a sack of his own. So it's just another trade of soldiers, and it looks like people are getting a bit bored. Nubby gets a nice shot onto Bonkers, actually. That might open things up a little bit for NeedMoreSwag here, as Jevin comes up first, obviously. with the faster respawn as well. Could very well have a bit more ground here to work with. It might be the thing they need. God, I want to see something happen, please! For the love of God. They're just staring each other down for so long. Daga doing a great job denying Solar there, absolutely. Not accomplishing that much. Navi gets another headshot. I think that was him that got the headshot. Yeah, he definitely did. He's the only sniper on the... I've lost track, man. It's just sacks back and forth. Jevin gets killed again. You know, I'm not going to comment on it anymore. This has happened exclusively for the past 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's the first time we've really seen one of the soldiers try and go aggressive, make something happen. At the moment, they've just been waiting for Nubby forever and ever and ever, and he's hit some nice shots, but hasn't. You know, he either needs to hit 2 in a row, and, you know, the 2 picks will open stuff up, or we need to get the medic. Gets BB again this time, but actually they've been 1-2 as well, so that is 2 picks, and that will probably spur a push or a sack of
Yeah, that's certainly a great opportunity. Please, for the love of God, NeedMoreSwag. They lose Jevin on the flank side there, but the rest of the team is in the lobby. They managed to pick up Bonkers as well. That's 3 picks. Come on, you can do it. It is possible. Yeah, they spam down the sentry as well. 2 spawners are here, and they actually managed to force the Uber out of Grabba very early as XC just kind of slips past and caps almost the entire point by himself. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good for NeedMoreSwag as they now find themselves in a grand position to try and repush here. Full Uber advantage. They just have to wait for their spawners. Stan was overextended, so they managed to clean him up as well. Obviously, the Poles are trying to actually just push that as much as they can. BB gets the force onto Vanny, which is quite crucial here because that's going to stunt the you know, opportunities to get into last as best they can. Daga is going to make an attempt for it. He gets denied by the sentry. And I think that's going to be it for the time being for this last attempt. That being said, though, kind of is only Grabba alive. Stan just now comes in to help out. And yeah, actually, NeedMoreSwag realized it was an opportunity. They used it. Thank God the round is over. That was half the map time.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I mean, the Poles, they wanted to take it forward. They did get the force out, but they committed a little bit too much resources forward. Yeah, Bonkers and BB both got caught out on second by the tail end of that Uber. And, you know, 1-0 now, and NeedMoreSwag.
Yeah, let's see if they can continue rolling it forward. It certainly isn't looking that great for them at this mid so far, as they've already lost 4 people. I couldn't even finish a sentence before they lose the 5th. Vanny did live, though. He does run away. He is being elusive, and he is already being chased. People are already in last. They want this man's life, and he is not having any of it. Beautiful surfs out of the way. He gets to spawn, lives on 12 HP, and somehow he stays alive. Obviously, Grabba is going to have a massive ad here, and they're already trying to push last. And if the Poles move fast enough here, they can totally convert this. It's up to them how they choose to do it. Navi's obviously up on the sniper again because that's like his favorite class in the game. The Uber does come out of Grabba. Vanny still isn't anywhere near his. The sentry's on level 2, gets taken down as well. No Sting's on the point. There's so much cap time already. They're gonna try to block the other side of NeedMoreSwag, and they're definitely doing a good job at killing these Polish players. It's only Grabba and Stan left. They're very disconnected. Stan gets cleaned up as well, and it's only Grabba. He's gonna run for his life. He's actually gonna kill Bind. He's realized that there's a futile attempt there. That's a failed push.
Unfortunate there for the Poles. I think it was just a little bit naivety there, BB, trying to run in and make something happen on the far side when, you know, he ends up just dying, feeding his life to a sentry gun, whereas, you know, his life on the point at the tail end of that fight would be much better. You see Munchkin going in for a sack attempt, getting very, very close to finding Vanny with that air shot, but just about sneaks over his head. And NeedMoreSwag with their foot on the pedal, wanting to move it into second again.
They love these coast to coast, man. It's working out well for them thus far. This is the second opportunity they have for another coast to coast from their own loss. They managed to lose Nubby, but that's not going to hold them back for too long. They're just going to wait. They have that full ad, and certainly the Poles are trying their best to set up a last ult here. They have some sticks, they have a heavy, so they're certainly ready. Paparazzi's going to try to build that sentry up as well. It really depends on how fast NeedMoreSwag wanna move here. They're taking this sweet time, even taking lobby. It feels like almost that they're not aware of the advantages they hold. And Paparazzi's actually opted to play Spy instead. So maybe you can get a cheeky pick here. Oh, that's a nice shot by Wanzu as well. Picks up Daga. That's certainly going to slow down the Swag players here. Nubby gets cleaned up as well. They managed to obviously pick up BBS, the trade, but Ixie gets backstepped by Paparazzi. Managed to gun down Jevin as well. Oh my. Oh my.
Chaos all over the place. Caper is actually ruling it in, and somehow it's turned into a 1v1 between him and Stan trying to melee him down. So Caper causing chaos. He picks up one shoe as well. The pole's just in complete disarray, gets a lot of damage down towards him. And Grabber is actually forced off the back of it. They had such a huge player advantage, but just couldn't keep themselves congealed as a single amorphous form. Separating far too much, getting pulled every which way by Caper. The fighting continues. They eventually clean up the frag onto Dagger. Jevin in as well. Snipe once more in from Nubby on the far side, and Caper, if he keeps the heals, is gonna probably take this with a frag onto Stan, gets on the point, and somehow NeedMoreSwag have actually put a second round together.
Yeah, I think that's just all off the back of Caper just basically being in control of who plays this game right now and who doesn't. So, yeah, he's just calling every shot here. He decides who gets to have fun, and he's decided that the polls are not going to be on that list today, as he is just winning, and he wants to win more. That's a quick second round. Let's see if the polls can find their way back into this game, or if TCM is going to go home with 0 points today. I'm going to have to see how they approach this mid. Wanja goes for a high bomb immediately. Obviously, Jevin tries to respond with his own, doesn't quite manage to, and it looks like they trade out 2 scouts in the meantime. Jevin gets picked up as well now, so the players are certainly an advantage for the polls, but they're so centered here. It's not an amazing position to be in. Obviously, they have the high ground, but they're so bunched up. Daga could do a real load of damage to them right now. And I think they're using the opportunity now. Yeah, the Swag players are definitely pushing it back a bit. Bonkers wins the 1v1 against Nubby. Caper is obviously just rolling forward like a tank, and they actually managed to get an Uber out of Grabba already. The mid-fight hasn't even concluded yet, and Ubers are already being popped. This is one of the longest mid-fights I've seen in my life, and neither team really wants to give it up. It's an endless tug of war here, back and forth. Everybody's winning and losing. Who's really supposed to be watched here? I don't know. Paparazzi gets taken down. There goes Grabba as well, with the heals out of the equation now. For the polls, surely NeedMoreSwag can potentially convert this mid. Vanny evading so wonderfully there, just staying alive. Keep Solars there as well. Doesn't really get onto the medic though.
BB.
BB, is he gonna be the one? Is he gonna be one, or does Vanny still stay alive? Oh my god, Daga keeps him alive, but Wanzu is surely, finally, after like 4 attempts on Vanny's life, he gets taken down. Whew.
The bit still hasn't been capped.
Yep.
Absolute chaos going on. Everyone just feeding. I honestly have to say it was very weird for NeedMoreSwag to even walk back in. They had their players in that cargo area. They could have just settled for the Uber advantage and the heal advantage, and the opponent would have been forced to feed into them. In the end, they put themselves in an awkward position in their own toxic area, where it was much easier for the poles just to feed, and eventually they fed enough and did get the medic, and it now means they've got a huge Uber advantage. They want to turn this game around with it.
Much like every single round thus far, the poles have essentially won mid, and they're now trying to make their way to last. It looks like they're going to be able to take second as well, even though they lost Wanzu, but that's a sacrifice worth making, as they're making their way into last with that Uber. Vanny is building like a madman though. He's getting very close. The sentry wasn't really much of an obstacle, obviously. Still down a player. The Ubers are now exchanged on the last point. It is slightly better for Grabba. He's been flashing less, but is it going to be enough for the Pulse to try and take home this point? There's stickies all over the place. Players are dying left, right, and center, and by that I mean, yeah, now they're dying finally. Players are also so low on each team, but yet fight persists, and it looks like it's going the way of the Poles. With only Vanny left alive, they managed to take at least a round, put themselves on the board for now.
I was going to say that the Poles, it looked like they didn't have the position at the tail end of that fight, but what they did have is brilliant focus fight. You can see all the players rotated over to the right hand side, cleaned up the players on the right while the left hand side was left just out to dry. Then they cleaned up the left hand side, got the round, and it's back to 2-1.
And let's see if they can continue this momentum, because this could actually be a game on our hands here as the mid number 4 is underway. Jevin gets an early pick there. onto Wanzu, and they managed to pick up both bunkers as well, so no soldiers for the poles as BB gets himself cleaned up on mid as well. Only 2 HP is a hard time to really try and fight 4 players with, so I can't blame him. That's going to be the first mid that NeedMoreSwag have won on Reckoner thus far, but they're certainly making use of it immediately. Already on second, Graba's dangerously though, so he's going to have to a bit more careful with his players here, but they will manage to just pressure out those stragglers on second. They're gonna have to wait for their Ubers here, and obviously with Daga and Jevin both down, NeedMoreSwag are certainly gonna be on the back foot for a little bit. Caper goes for a little bit of a cheeky play there behind, doesn't work out either, so he's gonna be out of the equation for a while. And it looks like the poles are actually quite stable here. They take mid back pretty handily for the time being. Certainly Swag want to make their way forward. Ixie gets taken down though, and that's gonna stunt them. They're gonna decide to just stay on second instead.
Nabi again on sniper, somehow serves away from the Democrat but can't stop the incoming assault. And yeah, the poles just pressing the Iski, they're getting the foresight. Slightly better Uber actually here for the side of NeedMoreSwag, as the poles had to use, and everyone is caught in dreadful positions on the side of the poles. NeedMoreSwag being able to just run forward, both their scouts on the low ground, but they find the meat shots. Paparazzi running around, picks up Dagger, who was isolated, but he will eventually go down. Just those 2 scouts absolutely neck and neck running in together, cleaning up the frags, and NeedMoreSwag suddenly have a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, they're certainly looking to move forward with it, potentially at least. Bonkers is in lower, might be able to catch somebody off, gets spotted out by Caper though, certainly in an unfavorable fight now with Jevin coming in to help as well. That's going to be him taken care of, and now Wanzu is finding himself in a rough spot as well, trying to go for a bit of a sack there. BB does get a neat little shot onto Ixie there, so everybody's getting their sniper rounds in here. There's only a few players left that haven't played the class yet this game, I'm pretty sure. At the end of the day, almost everybody's gonna have that class on their logs, so that's very important, obviously. That being said, NeedMoreSwag are finding themselves yet again pushing into last with a big Uber ad that it gets popped off immediately. Obviously, the sentry's taken care of, BB gets taken care of as well. They lose Caper though. It's not going all that well just yet, and their health is certainly not looking that pretty. Paparazzi's up on the heavy as well, laying down a lot of damage on the point, and they're losing more players. The rest of them have to back out, and Nubby actually almost dies as well. Wanju's gonna make sure that nobody comes back in that easily either. And the poles hang on for now. It's starting to get into crunch time as well, with 4 minutes left, 4.5.
It's pretty close to his hit. Stanley's going for something aggressive as well. Picks up by Nubby. So that's going to be no time around in this fight. NeedMoreSwag suddenly have put some stuff together. They've played together a bit more. They're putting themselves towards toxic. They want to take this fight. Nubby's in the back lines as well to potentially come in with the backstab. He's cleaned up. But we've seen Ixie as well. Is he actually going to feed in Jevin? Trying to peek in through this rollout area, so a couple of picks here in the pole's favour. They could move into second if they want, but at the moment Jevin is just patrolling that shutter area. He actually needed to find some damage onto Stan, but will potentially get cleaned up. No, he manages to run out into cargo, but the trade is still on here for the poles. They bully the combo out of the toxic area, and they're going to have to go back to mid.
Yeah, the poles are hanging on, but they are making a show for themselves here, and they want to stay in this. They want to take home at the very least a couple of points from the golden cap that it's probably going to turn into if they continue at this pace and manage to take a round. They're gonna make their way into mid here. They managed to pick up Ixie early. Jevin, sorry, my bad. Nubby's on sniper. Jevin with a huge bomb there into the combo, manages to force off Graba early. Vantage have a bit of a better Uber there. Bonkers gets cleaned up as well, so Swagger's certainly hanging in on this fight. There goes Caper. Nice little rockets there from Wanzu. Nubby managed to pick up Stan, but then Daga gets cleaned up as well. Nubby lives yet again. He's very elusive, even on the sniper class, and he's hitting the shots he needs to.
Yeah, Nubby is definitely hit an awful lot of shots, and that was certainly one that saved himself with that close range headshot onto the soldier and lives on a sliver of health. But you can see how the poles are. Oh, they have the bit between their teeth. They want to keep pressing forward. They know that there's a DM class out of the fight whenever Nubby is spawned on that sniper. They're taking full advantage of it, not even waiting to cap second. They're just sticking the one guy BB on it, but it can move into last. There's a heavy weapons guy up for Caper on the far side. He's getting spammed out by Stan at the moment. Uber comes in. Heavy weapons is picked up pretty quickly. Jevon's weak in the air as well. Couple of spawners coming. Dagger and Ixie out from the right spawn. Dagger takes a ton of damage, and there's so much cap time.
Ooh.
The Poles have brought it back to 2-2.
They are not done with this game yet. They are here to fight, and with 2 minutes left, it's still anybody's game. Anybody can still take this in regulation time. We've seen fast rounds. Finally, the game's picking up some pace, and this could be anybody's game for sure. Let's see how this potentially final mid-fight goes for either team here. Very fast just in general, out of NeedMoreSwag. Just both soldiers going in so deep immediately as well. They managed to pick up Paparazzi early. Solar taken down as well as BB. So that's very, very crucial picks immediately. Grabba just getting mulched in the meat grinder. A sign kill for Stan onto Jevon is not going to cut it when the rest of your team has already died. Bonkers just somehow miraculously is still alive, but both of them are stuck in lower here, and they're both going to get absolutely mulched. Ground up into mince. And yeah, here we are. NeedMoreSwag on second with a decisive mid-victory, a wipe effectively. As the Poles have to desperately try to hang on. Now at this point, they can't win. They have to hold this loss for 1 minute, take it to a golden cap, see if they can take home some points tonight. And obviously NeedMoreSwag want to have a word with that. They have that full Uber. They're ready in lobby. Mounting this push is merely a matter of seconds. There it is. The jump is done. The sentry is taken down, but nobody's really dared to be killed just yet. Everybody just kind of kites the Uber away, and Jevon is actually going to be the first player to go down. As the heavy comes out on BB as well, they manage to pick up Ixie, and it looks like a stunted push for the time being. 40 seconds left. It certainly is not in the cards for the Poles to pick up around here. But they can hold that. That's holdable. That's definitely holdable.
And they have their Uber up, but in fact, it's a crit screen. Grabber opted to go for it, thinking it might prove, a little bit of advantage. It builds a little bit quicker. It could have proved pivotal in that fight, but it's actually going to come out. It's going to be the laser beams onto the heavy weapons. Picks up 2 in close range. Paparazzi gets a frag with the sentry gun as well. So there's just a couple of players left on this far side. Caper and Vanny trying to run out alone. Just 3 seconds left, but we are going to go to a golden cap.
Wow. Yeah, the Poles don't want to give this one up without a fight. After being down 2 rounds for 20 minutes, they find themselves back 2 quick rounds. They're living up to the TCM moniker, I suppose. And let's see how quickly they want to continue into that golden cap, because this could be a close one. Or it could be over in an instant, right? You never know. You always try to hype it up and be like, oh yeah, it's going to be a real close match, and then one team gets wiped on mid and just instantly loses. But here's hoping. Here's hoping. Obviously, if you're rooting for the Polish national team here, you absolutely want to give them all your energy right now, because this is the round that matters. Let's look at some quick numbers. Yeah.
I certainly don't want to make too many predictions in terms of what the pace is going to be like, because, that first round took an age. It was just, one team stuck on last for ages, the other team stuck on last for ages. And then the second half of the map was just complete chaos, just frags, everything just happening all over the place. Nubby playing, I don't know how many minutes of sniper, perhaps the logs will tell us that.
Let me see. He played, 12 minutes and 22 seconds, so almost half the game was spent on sniper.
Yeah,
that's interesting choice, let's say it like that.
And it wasn't like he was stuck on it in stalemates. He was, at times, particularly that first 15 minutes. But towards the end of the game, he was, I think he was just bringing it out a little bit too much. He was hitting shots, but the Poles were capitalizing off the, the lack of teamfight DM that it did give them. And they saw it as an advantage, and they were able to bring themselves back into the game off the back of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can glean from logs on a stalemate, because at the end of the day, none of these numbers really matter, because both teams had the same scoreline. What matters is the final round that's going to decide who actually wins the map. So this is the interesting part, right? Both of these teams, at least for the last couple of rounds, it was pretty quick. It was pretty quickly matched, One team kind of loses mid, and then it just goes forward, and For some reason, there were a lot of coast to coasts and stuff like that. So the game can turn around very quickly. And if you only have one round, you don't have any form of buffer to, mess around with, that can maybe change your team's playstyle a little bit. What I'm trying to say here is, do you think the Polish team will want to maybe just take their foot off the pedal ever so slightly, just so they don't run into making some dubious mistake?
As I say earlier, I don't think that's their style. I think they want to press
Hmm.
the issue whenever they can. They want to, play aggressive TF2. Stan's just always super far forward, taking the space given to him, and he gets a lot of damage, over 10k damage on this log off the back of it. So Stan makes it work for sure. Perhaps the interesting thing to point out is actually how the mid fights went. It seems the Poles actually won those first three mid fights, but then obviously NeedMoreSwag found something and they came up with those last two. So going in, perhaps they've worked something out a little bit on these mid fights, and the mid fight is such a crucial part of this golden gap. That probably bodes a little bit better for NeedMoreSwag.
That is true. It's also worth mentioning that, despite having pretty dominant mid fights in the first couple of rounds, the Poles still managed to get coast to coasted both rounds. So like they managed to have a dominant mid fight, take swag all the way to their last, botch the last push, and then get pushed to their last and lose. So, if you're going off the statistics here, it's not looking amazing. But that was 30 minutes ago, so maybe it's entirely different time. That being said, I think once all these players have decided to take their smoke breaks, as players do, because nobody ever wants to play the golden caps immediately, because why would you use the time when you're warmed up? No, you gotta cool down. Let's. Do you think you have a prediction here? Do you think you have an idea? Who would you want this to win? Who do you think has the best chance to be the one?
I think because of the way they lost that first map, I think that like a 5-1 scoreline, if NeedMoreSwag were to take that, would not be like a fair reflection of this game. So just purely based on that, I think I'm going to back the Poles.
All right. Very optimistic choice there for the Polish team. I would obviously, wish upon them that they can take some points home tonight, because going 6-0 against a decently evenly matched team, it's a bit rough. That's a bit unfortunate. But picking up at least a couple points, certainly something to write home about. Because this is overall, just because this is a good point to mention. It looks like it might be a decently balanced season yet again, right? A lot of teams seem pretty evenly matched. There's a couple of standout ones that you would consider to be final worthy, but for the most part, I think we're seeing a lot of competition this season, yet again.
Yeah, and I think there's also the thing that stood out for me for these first couple of weeks is there's a lot of room for improvement on a lot of these teams. There's a lot of shaky moments. Everyone's hitting, so many shots. Everyone's making their individual plays work to crazy, crazy levels. But at the moment, a lot of these teams are still kind of in, early phases in terms of getting their team play, getting their coordination going. And I think as we go throughout the season, might mean that the rounds slow down a bit, but I think the quality of the TF2 is going to improve.
I think that's just like due to the nature of like how many of these teams are like kind of newly shuffled together, right? Uh, at least from what I remember looking at the rosters this season, a lot of them. I mean, some of them obviously, yes, people have played together, but only some cores from some teams have stuck around. It's been a lot of shuffling that's been happening, right? So I think that might be part of why the play may have been a bit sloppy for these first couple of weeks. So going forward, that's definitely going to sort itself out. So taking that into account, if you can pick up some wins against teams that might statistically be way better than you in these early couple of weeks, or like pick up the points that you might not be as easily getting later in the season, this could be quite crucial. Could be quite interesting when it comes to placement in the later parts.
Yeah, for sure. I think any points in these first couple of weeks are, they make a big difference because, as you say, we could be, in a different situation. We're looking at like the 2 points the Frenchies got yesterday against Oro Electro, perhaps towards the end of the season, Oro Electro might be, one of the top teams, in which case those 2 points look really, really good. And, even a couple of points here for the polls, if NeedMoreSwag do prove to be, serious contenders at the end of the day, just a couple of points here for the polls might be the difference between them sneaking into playoffs or not.
Certainly. Here's hoping that they could finally get started. I would love that. I'm out of things to say. So this is where I start looking at all these players and see who has the most expensive looking loadout, because that's always something I want to judge people by. Because it tells you a lot about their personality, I think. Oh, average. Never mind. That like just me threatening to do that was enough for them to ready up. Let's go.
Yeah, no one wants
have
the hat
powers.
talk. No one wants
Exactly.
the hat talk.
Hey, it's a crucial part of this game, you know? That being said, the Golden Cap is going to go underway. It does not look like we have been baited, so this is the one. This is the one that matters to take home the map. Whoever wins this takes home 2 points, the other one at least 1. So the Poles have secured themselves an up point. Let's see if they can take a second one as the mid-fight is underway. Both teams taking it a bit slow this one. They don't want to make any rash, sudden movements that could potentially spell their doom. And Stan gets juggled high and gets blown up. BB cleaned up as well. That is a good opening for the Swag team here, and they're gonna just roll forward with it, pick up 2 more. Both soldiers out of the equation. It's only Paparazzi and Grubba left. They're gonna escape to loss. Swag are certainly looking in a prime position here to immediately try and take this. Spawners are there. It's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, Grubba's actually built Zubo really nicely as well, despite how much of a disastrous midfight that was. Soldier comes in towards Grubba, but he's able to just surf back into Spawn, which we actually talked about potentially not being an issue with Grubba's aggressive playstyle, but this time he absolutely nails it. Just nice positioning. I think he was perhaps even able to banny bind as well. It's pretty nice. I mean, pretty nice from a Midic's point of view, but frustrating certainly as the soldier coming in for second. Potentially something you look at as not the most favoured part of this map. It is a feature we're going to have to deal with. And at the moment we're just seeing soldiers getting buffed up outside here for the side of NeedMoreSwag. They're actually taking the lobby area together now. They'll be in once more, but just jump straight into essentially a little bit of damage down onto Grubba, but it's not going to be a force.
They're not going to be able to follow up on that easily. Grubba, he would have to eat a lot of spam that was followed up with, and obviously he does not. That sentry's going to keep him safe. And these teams are looking to take it very carefully. I mean, you see how passive NeedMoreSwag are being as well on second. They are so far back. They send in a single player, and then if that player dies, immediately just back off. Don't hinge your bets here. Just be as careful as you can. Maybe try to take down that sentry. Wanzu at least switches to spy for a bit here. He might just be checking, but he might actually commit to it as well. I doubt he will. Oh no! Oh, he does! Wow, okay. Color me impressed. We are going to see a bit of defensive spy play here out of Wanju, as obviously his team makes a bit of room for him in lobby so he can get out easily. And, well, he hasn't been spotted yet, but it looks like NeedMoreSwag are certainly aware that there could be a spy, as BB gets cleaned up a little bit too far. Out here gets killed by Yevon, and it's gonna be on Solar now. Actually, Wanju has managed to slip back. He's decided that it's not a good idea to be spy, and Numby gets cleaned up by Stan. Okay, fair enough. It's just a stalemate back and forth. Yeah, there's not much to report on here.
I don't know whether his Cloak and Dagger ran out or it was just a random scattergun shot, but I think Wanju was caught out on the spy, so decided to go back. He was spotted, so obviously without that element of surprise, the spy is a very, very weak class indeed. Players can just turn around and that completely counters that class. There's a sticky trap at the moment that half the game is spotted. They do. They're taking an awful long time to defuse it. Very, very risky play there. I think the fact that Stan didn't have clear sights on it from any of his team as well, saving them a little bit there. They could have lost 2 players had he dead. At the moment, we've seen the soldiers jumping in, but body blocks it in the air nicely there by the side of 1-2. A nice little jump to, not only does he have to deal with a engineer, a sentry gun denying him, has to deal with a flying soldier as well.
Yeah, just completely denying any ground he could take there. It's actually a push up by the Poles, and they managed to just pop the Uber and kill Vanny. They just drop Vanny, just walk into his face, and decide to kill him. Finally, something is going on. That is a crucial play here. Caper just managed to slip into lobby, but oh man, they are trying to get onto Grubba here. Actually, no, we didn't use, did they?
Well, they used the Uber when they dropped Vanny, but it seems to be the demo manager that Stan getting a nice drop onto Vanny, but then Dagger running in, getting a 2k on a sliver without just running in from Toxic. You see Nubby back on Sniper as well, and there is the threat of the back cap from Caper. Gets a lot of cap time and a frag onto the demo man as well, so he's completely pulled the team back. Grabber, I think, has had to use Uber again as well. So, disastrous overall for the side of the Poles. They're at Uber disadvantage. They have a pick here, so they might want to move it in, get some aggression going, but it's such awkward, this cap, with the cap being on the low ground, they have to commit a player out of the fight. In fact, 2 of their scouts are on the low ground, and the soldiers actually get really aggressive, get a ton of damage down onto Valley, but aren't able to clean up the frag, so they will retain an Uber advantage on the side of NeedMoreSwag.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to settle for the pick onto Daga is the only thing they accomplish with it, so immediately they're gonna have to back out of mid again as well. Obviously NeedMoreSwag are going to abuse that opportunity, and they're actually gonna roll this into second too, knowing that they have that bit of an advantage to pressure back these Polish players into lobby. Full of forward spawning soldiers, Navi's keeping his eye on those, just, pressuring them, keeping them occupied. Very nice denial out of them. And it's just nothing happening there. The Uber does get used out of Graba, mostly out of necessity because he was close to death. Vanny obviously responds with his own, which is slightly better. They managed to pick up Stan, but they've lost both Nubby and Caper throughout that exchange. BB slips in behind as well, does not get the kills he wants. Beautiful, just destruction by the explosive bosses there. But it still is a scramble.
Yeah, you say out of necessity, but that was definitely an orchestrated trade attempt. We see actually Bonkers landing on the medic's head, but doesn't have a rocket to follow it up. But the Poles, they seem to want to keep on fighting there. They're a gamer down right now, but they have more gamers towards this cargo area. Spawners coming up for the side of NeedMoreSwag. It's sticking up there, so it's going to be difficult for them to get in. Caper has a sideline from the... Oh, we actually see Nubby lives for an absolute age. No one to clean him up. He's just able to live and clean up the medic, the tail end of it, with what I think was probably his 5th rocket.
It's absurd. Absolutely absurd. He manages to get that crucial pick onto Graba, though. Obviously, everybody commits. Finally, BB is the one to get the kill onto Vanny. So at the very least, they manage to equalize it there. Get that Uber back in their favor for the time being. But the mid is still in control of NeedMoreSwag. There's 2 soldiers versus 2 scouts fighting here. Paparazzi's gonna clean up the first one, and they're gonna manage to just mulch down Nubby as well. Both of them with the domination. That's just BM. But they're gonna cap mid, and they're gonna roll that forward.
Timing on the soldiers was not great there. Obviously, 2 soldiers against 2 scouts is not a good matchup overall, but when they have to put a player on the cap time, it does equalise it to a certain extent. Timing off there. Now we see actually BB again once more in on Vanny. He's been ploughing forward with Dagger as well. They clean Vanny up, just 2 gamers alive for the side of NeedMoreSwag, and it's a chunky Uber advantage. They actually walk into lobby as well, but they perhaps might be better off waiting for their spawners, although they want to continue pressing the issue. Jevon goes down and they cap it off the back of it, just pushing off the sheer number of gamers that they had.
It's
really
that
impressive.
easy. It's that easy. You just kill people and then you can win the round. The scouts really showing up there for the Poles towards the tail end there. My lord, both Paparazzi and BB just insane plays. So many kills between them, so much great focus, and rounds out the round. The Poles take home 2 points. NeedMoreSwag take home 4 for this matchup of the second week. GG's, I would say.
Yeah, impressive stuff, and very exciting. There were slower moments and more thoughtful kind of stalemates, and trying to break different holds. But at the end of the day, very well played for both teams, and I think both teams will be relatively happy with how it came out. The polls certainly, they were a minute away from a 0-6 scoreline. Ends up getting 2 points out of it, so not too bad salvage from them. And the side of Need More Swag, I think they have very serious playoff aspirations. So 4 points here, it's pretty nice. Pretty nice. They perhaps would have wanted more coming into the game, but not a bad start for them. And they certainly look like they have a lot of potential going forward. Both these teams have a lot of skill. So as you say, it's going to be a competitive season. We'll see how it continues.
Yeah, they've shown what they're capable of, and they've shown that they are decently evenly matched, at least at the moment. We'll have to see how that evolves over the next 5 weeks, and then potentially in the playoffs. If these teams happen to meet again, it might be a whole different story. For the time being, though, that's going to be this match for the night. Do you want to shout anybody out, Dave?
Shout out Debbie, shout out the rest of the sensation.
All right. That sounds good. I don't do shoutouts because I am a loner. No, that's it from us tonight. We'll see you again for more games next week, I suppose. Cheers. Bye.